The rain wasn't falling. It was throwing itself against the penthouse windows. Each drop a suicidal shatter against the glass dot inside. Elias Thorne stood in a silence so deep he could hear the ghost of his daughter's laughter in the next room where she slept. He swirled amber whiskey in a crystal tumbler, the ice long dead. The board meeting tomorrow, the hostile takeover, the unrelenting pressure of a billion-dollar empire, it all condensed into a cold, familiar knot between his shoulders. He was a fortress, all granite resolve and sharp lines, built to withstand siege. A sound alien and wrong seeped through the storm's roar, not the wind. A raw, guttural sob choked as if through broken reeds. It came from the private service elevator bank, accessible only by a keycard he and a handful of staff possessed. Setting his glass down with a quiet click, Elias moved, not out of concern, but from a CEO's instinct to secure his territory. The hallway was dim, lit by a single sconce. The elevator doors were parting not smoothly, but shuddering, as if something was blocking them. In the jagged opening, she collapsed onto the imported marble. She was a ruin. Her dress, once elegant, was torn at the shoulder. One eye was a swelling violet horizon, and a thin trail of blood painted a path from her lip to her chin. Rainwater and something else stares drenched her hair, plastering it to a face of shocking, broken paleness. She trembled violently, her breath coming in ragged, shallow hitches. But it was her eyes that stopped him cold. As she looked up, seeing him tower over her, there was no plea, no hope. Only a vast, hollow resignation. The emptiness of someone who had already crossed a terrible threshold. "Please," she whispered, the word barely sound. The elevator. It just came up. I had a card. From him. I didn't know where else to go. Elias didn't move. He'd built his life on calculated risks, on due diligence. This was a complication, a potential scandal. Yet, the absolute void in her gaze was a force more arresting than any boardroom rebellion. Who did this? His voice was harder than he intended. A shudder racked her. She pulled her knees to her chest, making herself small. "It doesn't matter. I thought I'd die tonight." She said it with the flat certainty of a weather report. It was this, more than her wounds, that fissured the granite within him. He thought of his daughter, asleep down the hall, safe because of every wall he'd built. This woman had no walls left. He did something he never did. He acted on pure, unvetted impulse. Crouching, he offered a hand. "You're safe here." She flinched from his extended hand, then stared at it as if it were a foreign object. Slowly, her icy, trembling fingers slid into his. The touch was a live wire of shared human frailty. He led her not to a guest suite, but to the main living area, sitting her on the vast sofa. He fetched a blanket, a first aid kit. He worked in silence, dabbing at the cut on her lip with antiseptic. She winced but didn't cry. The tears had stopped, leaving a terrible dry shore. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice softer now. "Lena," she said, then closed her eyes. He's powerful, connected. You shouldn't get involved." "I am involved," Elias said, surprising himself. He saw not a victim, but a survivor at the very cliff edge of survival. In her stubborn silence, he recognized a strength that mirrored his own, forged in a different, darker fire. A strange protective ache bloomed behind his ribs. For an hour, he just sat with her in the quiet, the storm abating outside. She sipped the water he brought. The hollow look began to recede, replaced by a fragile, bewildered awareness. She looked around at the stark, luxurious room, then at him, this severe. Handsome man in a bespoke suit? Playing nurse. "You have a child," she whispered, nodding toward a small, bright pink sneaker left by the hallway. "A daughter, Sophie. She's 6. A ghost of a smile touched Lena's swollen lips. "She's lucky." The simplicity of the statement undid him. In his world, people told him his daughter was lucky for his wealth, his name. Never just for him. He was about to speak, to offer her sanctuary, a lawyer, anything. When the private elevator chimed again, a clean, efficient sound, both froze. Lena's face drained of all color. terror returning in a violent wave. Elias stood, his body tensing. "Stay here." But before he could move, a figure strode into the room. Not a hulking brute, but a man in a flawlessly tailored overcoat, silver at his temples, his face a mask of urbane concern. Robert Vance, his company's most respected board member, his late father's best friend, Elias. "Thank God. I've been looking everywhere for her." Elias blinked. Robert's eyes swept past him, landing on Lena with a performance of profound relief. "There you are, my dear. I've been out of my mind." He took a step forward, his voice dripping with paternal worry. "She's my niece, Elias. Fragile, prone to episodes. She ran off during a family dinner. Got into some trouble, I fear. I can't thank you enough for taking her in." The story was seamless, plausible. The world righted itself on its familiar, corrupt axis. Elias felt the old calculus return. Alliances, appearances, stock prices. He turned to look at Lena, expecting her to cower, to confirm the story. She had risen to her feet. The blanket fell away. She was still shaking, but she stood straight, and she was looking not at Robert, but at Elias. Her eyes, those vast, wounded oceans, held his. In them, he didn't see fear now. He saw a warning, and a profound, heartbreaking apology. Then she spoke, her voice clear as shattered glass in the silent room. "Uncle Robert," she said, the term of venomous endearment. She took a shaky breath, her gaze still locked with Elias's, binding him in a silent pact. "I'm sorry I ran. I needed to see him. To warn him." Robert's polished smile faltered. "Warn him? Darling, you're confused." Lena's tear-tracked face was a map of sorrow and steely resolve. She finally looked at Robert, her voice dropping to a whisper that carried like a gunshot. "I know about the merger. The real one. The one you're orchestrating to hollow out his company and blame him for the collapse." She turned her aching eyes back to Elias, the man who had shown her a moment's kindness and a lifetime of cruelty. "The security codes? The offshore accounts? It's all in the safe behind his Degas. The combination is Sophie's birthday." Robert Vance's face contorted, the genteel mask melting into pure, undisguised malice. "You stupid, wretched girl." But Elias was already moving, the fortress of his life crumbling to reveal the fierce, untamed father beneath. The beaten woman's tears had stopped him cold, but her words, her impossible, devastating sacrifice, had just set his whole world on fire. The final tear that rolled down Lena's cheek as security flooded in wasn't from pain or fear. It was for the goodbye she saw in his eyes, the goodbye to the life he knew. It's the terrifying, uncharted dawn they had just stepped into, together.